So what we're looking at here is stuffin.space. This is a web page that is dedicated to tracking the thousands upon thousands of satellites that are supposedly in orbit around the spherical Earth here. And you'll notice as one of those satellites passes by the mouse cursor there that the name of the satellite along with its respective orbit is displayed. But what I want you to pay attention to is the sheer amount of satellites in low to mid-Earth orbit around the spherical Earth. That is a lot of satellites. A lot of satellites. Thousands of satellites in low to mid-Earth orbit. I never see any of these satellites in real live footage of the International Fake Station. Not any footage of the Mir docking with the International Fake Station. Not in any footage of the Space Shuttle docking with the International Fake Station. Not one. I never see any of these satellites, these thousands of satellites that are in low to mid-Earth orbit, ever whizzing by or ever even being reflected, showing the sun's, reflecting the sun's light, because these satellites are supposed to be covered in gold foil, which is, supposed to protect them from the sun. I never ever see these satellites, any one of these thousands of satellites whizzing by the International Space Station or in the background reflecting the sun's light. I never see it. I would also be concerned if I was the head of NASA's launch department, satellite department, or whatever, and or maybe even a private corporation that was launching satellites, and it was a multi-million dollar satellite. I would be a little concerned of its safety, and with all of these satellites up here. I mean, look at all of these satellites. This is crazy. So anyway, I figured you guys out there who are, with eyes open might get a kick out of this. I'm also going to show you here in just a quick minute some footage from WALL-E. I'm sure you guys remember WALL-E, that little robot who worked for the Department of Earth Sanitation or whatever and cleaning up the Earth, and he clamps onto a rocket as it takes off of the spherical Earth, and it flies through all of this space junk, which are satellites, and also we're going to show you another clip of the Gravity movie, where the destroyed satellite debris is coming over and striking the astronauts and so forth. So yeah, I think you guys will find that very interesting, and let's go ahead and do that now. Only in Hollywood, guys. Only in Hollywood. That was pretty cool how WALL-E clamped onto that rocket and shot through all of that space debris, huh? That's kind of funny. And it's funny how we never see any of those types of collisions on any spacewalks in the Gravity movie. Ever. Ever. Not one recorded, with the thousands and thousands of satellites that are out there, according to the stuffin.space satellite tracker. These things should be occurring a lot more often. But let's go check out the next set of clips.
For 60 years, we have launched satellites, spacecraft and astronauts into space. As a result, the Earth is surrounded by a cloud of debris. There are more than 18,000 objects being tracked from the ground, at least 750,000 fragments of around €1 in size, and millions of pieces that are smaller. Only 1,100 are functional spacecraft. And at typical impact speeds of 40,000 kilometers per hour, all this material could do serious damage.
It is not comparable to a gunshot. The energy contained in a 1 centimeter particle hitting a satellite at that velocity roughly corresponds to an exploding grenade. So the consequences of such a hit mean a satellite failure, for larger objects, even satellite destruction and fragment generation, which again then has environmental consequences.
We rarely get to see the effects of space debris, but in 1993, during the first Hubble servicing mission, a solar array was removed from the Space Telescope. Back on Earth, the panel was found to be peppered with damage.
Whoa, wait a minute. Didn't the preceding video say that there was 41,000 trackable satellites? And then on this video, it says there's 18,000 trackable satellites? And didn't that guy just mention also that the velocity of the debris striking another satellite was akin to a grenade going off? That photograph that they showed of that satellite being struck, the damage, that hardly looks like a grenade going off. Let's continue.
Our activities in space have left traces behind. To date, there have been some 5,000 successful satellite launches, and certain orbits are at risk of becoming congested. About 17,000 man-made objects are currently being regularly monitored from the ground. Some 10,000 of these objects are fragments created by more than 250 explosions and collisions that have occurred in orbit. Explosions are caused by energy reservoirs that remain unused upon completion of a mission. Only 7% of the monitored objects are functioning satellites. The effect has been particularly evident in the low Earth orbit region. This extends to a height of about 2,000 kilometers. 2/3 of all known artificial objects can be found in this comparatively small region. However, also here, they are far from evenly distributed. For most missions, near polar orbits between 600 kilometers and 1,200 kilometers altitude are used. For this reason, the highest collision risk can be found in the vicinity of the Earth's poles. The Earth's upper atmosphere below these altitudes prevents debris from remaining in space for long periods of time. The objects are slowed down by the atmosphere, causing them to lose height and burn up on re-entry. Orbits above 1,200 kilometers are too far away for Earth observation missions and communication applications. They are therefore used considerably less. Collision warnings are issued regularly for satellites operating at the critical height in polar orbits. During routine operation, about 10 objects every week come within 2 kilometers of such satellites. In recent years, ESA has had to carry out about 3 collision avoidance maneuvers per year. A particularly critical situation occurred on the 21st of January 2010. The calculated flyby distance to a disused rocket upper stage was only about 50 meters. The probability of a collision was greater than 1 to 80. The maneuver to avoid a collision was only carried out half an orbit before the determined approach epoch and increased the clearance to a safe distance of 130 meters. However, most of the artificial objects in space are uncontrolled and cannot be influenced. This means that the majority of collisions cannot be avoided using such evasive maneuvers. There have already been 4 major collisions in low Earth orbits. The most serious of these collisions was the one between an Iridium satellite and a defunct Cosmos satellite on the 10th of February 2009. The satellites collided at a relative speed of approximately 42,000 kilometers per hour. This resulted in the creation of an additional 2,000 items of debris that can now be tracked from the ground using radar. These debris will disperse at differing speeds over the course of time due to the effect of Earth's gravitational field. The Iridium fragments are less affected, meaning that they disperse somewhat more slowly. This compact cloud of debris regularly results in a high risk of collision for satellites operating at this height. Many of the critical flybys occur in the polar regions, where all of the near-polar orbits overlap. This is also where the collision between Iridium and Cosmos occurred. Such collisions currently take place about once every 5 years. The more objects accumulate in orbit due to spaceflight activities, the more frequently such collisions are going to occur. In future, more and more collisions with fragments from earlier incidents are going to occur. This collisional cascading effect was already predicted some 40 years ago. The exponential increase in the number of objects is extremely difficult to slow down. If the current number of launches continues and no countermeasures are taken, the collision rate will eventually be 25 times what it is at present. This would make spaceflight in the important low Earth orbits almost impossible.
In all my life, I've never heard such a fantastic load of tripe!
Even if no more launches took place and the space debris situation was left to its own devices, simulations have shown that the number of objects will not decrease but increase. This is caused by cascading collisions between resident objects and fragments of prior collisions. That scenario indicates that the critical density of objects in the low Earth orbits has already been exceeded.
Now let's consider this. With all of that debris that is supposedly in low to mid-Earth orbit, of all those satellites, they would all be destroyed, because even one would create a massive chain reaction that would just completely destroy all the satellites because of the thousands upon thousands of debris resulting from all the collisions. I mean, wow. Alright, so check this out. This is a cue ball striking 15 balls on a billiard table. Okay? Now, notice the effect here. This is just 15 balls, well 16 including the cue ball, but you can only imagine that if one satellite struck another satellite out in space with those thousands of satellites, that would proliferate into thousands of collisions. There are no satellites in space, folks, and there is no space. If there are satellites up there, it's probably a weather balloon with some type of device to survey the flat plane of the Earth, or to observe the sun, the moon, and the stars. Remember, the truth is only seen by those and observed by those who are willing to face her. God bless you all. Thanks for watching. Continue to search out the truth, for the truth will set you free.